Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests, to this meeting of online presenters. It has begun. Now, guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active Toastmasters international member and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches, or alternately, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. Our requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click, select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note, the meeting is being recorded. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, remember to remain muted when you are not speaking. Please help me welcome the founding president of Online Presenters, who most of us are already here to see. He will be giving us some intense, insightful information on a space that we all here, obviously, love. Does he have as much wanderlust as Chris? He may have to answer that when he takes the virtual lectern. Please help me welcome our current president, David.
Thank you, Joni. And thank you, everybody, for joining, particularly our guests. I think at least a couple of guests may have seen that I started a conversation, trying to stir up trouble a little bit on the Toastmasters International Facebook group, talking about online clubs and whether online clubs are healthy, what it takes to have a healthy online club. And we'll be talking a lot more about that. Now, that was not entirely a cynical ploy to lure more guests into this meeting. It was a little bit, yeah, absolutely. But also it is a topic that very much interests me. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about it in a moment. So I think I should pass things off to our Toastmaster of the day, Carolina Ramirez.
Thank you, David. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. The theme of this meeting is new beginnings. We are already in the second month of this new year, and it can be a great opportunity to plan, clean, put things in order, and define new goals and strategies to achieve them. In my case, that is exactly what I've been doing during these first 2 months, preparing everything to be able to fully pursue my goals. In my experience, it has been good to ask myself the following questions. The first, what things should I eliminate from my life that I haven't been able to due to lack of decision or time maybe? What things can I plan in advance? For instance, my vacations. They are already planned. And what are my goals for this new year, and what is the strategy that will allow me to get there? The size of your goal does not matter. The important thing is that it is realistic and aligned with your objectives, and above all, makes you happy. To make this meeting a success, many club members and guests will be supporting me with different roles. And the first one, and very important for a leader, is the timer. She will be helping us with our time management skill. Sarah, please, can you explain us your role?
Thank you, Carolina. Tonight I'll be timing the speeches, the evaluations, and the table topics. For our speeches, the first speaker will be David, and he has 12 to 15 minutes. We will see the green light at 12, and then we'll see the yellow light at 13, and then the red light at 15. We have one icebreaker, and that icebreaker will be 4 to 6 minutes. And then we have our evaluations. They're 2 to 3 minutes, and our table topics are 1 to 2 minutes. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Dave's speech will be longer. Please pay attention to the chat because Andre put some important information. The accountant today is Chris Gould. Chris, could you explain us your role, please?
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests, fellow guests. Yes, I will be listening to those verbal pauses, the faux pas as you speak, the ahs, the ers, the you knows, and the times that you double say a word. We call it a double clutch. I will give a little signal whenever I hear such a thing that will alert you to it. And I will be keeping track and give a report at the end. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. The next role is the grammarian with the word of the day that I can hardly pronounce. Please welcome Marianne Grady.
Well, thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and hello, everybody else. I'm Marianne Grady, and I will be your grammarian. I'll be watching for grammar usage, both good, the verbal gems, and bad, for which you will be jettisoned from this meeting. Just kidding. Jettison is our word of the day, and I hope you will incorporate it into your speech today. The definition will be in the chat.
Thank you, Marianne. The watcher today is Andy Byrne. Andy, could you explain us your role?
My role is that of a watcher. The watcher does a visual assessment of each person and their screen. If their hands are up so they can be seen when you're speaking, how your facial expression looks, whether you're set in the middle of your screen or something else. Your background, is it distracting? Is it adding to your stuff? Mine is showing that I'm wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day, which is coming up very soon. So therefore, that's why I have my background there. I'll report back during the evaluation section how you look on the screen.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy. And last but not least, we have a chat monitor today. He's Nicholas Smith.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I found on your website my duties so I can read those off to you. During the meeting, I will, whenever possible, be the first to answer any questions posed in the chat. As needed, relay important information to the Toastmaster. Keep track of the most helpful, encouraging, and humorous posts throughout the meeting. For instance, links to external resources or humorous observations based on what other members said or did make for good highlights. When called upon, give a 1-minute report highlighting the most noteworthy items placed in the chat during the meeting, and keep a running log of the highlights by copying relevant chat messages and summarizing and whatever else and posting those in here later, and I will do that. I'll be here all night. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. That was a great explanation. Are you ready for the speeches today? Yes. The first speaker is working in the Presentation Mastery Level 4 Building Skills question and answer session. David Carr led online presenters to Charter in 2017 and has helped his home club, Club Awesome in Coral Springs, Florida, adapt to hybrid meetings. Intended more as an opportunity for discussion than a true Q&A, David's presentation today focuses on advice for clubs thinking of going 100% online because of challenges with both in-person and hybrid meetings. The big questions are, is running a successful online club easier or harder than running a more traditional Toastmasters club? What are the trade-offs, and what are the challenges to going all or mostly virtual? The title is, what are the challenges of running a successful online club? Let's welcome David Carr with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Carolina. So I got started on this because I got a question. Somebody who's a former member of my home club, Club Awesome, wrote to me saying, I've been going around to speaking to different clubs about the importance of club culture. And I've been hearing there's a lot of clubs out there that are struggling along with 8 members or so. And half of those people are online, remote, somewhere else in the world. They're getting pressure from the district to go back to fully in person or to go hybrid. And they think that sounds like a pain in the neck. They're resistant to change, so they want to stay all online. I think that's actually kind of funny all by itself. They're resistant to change, so they want to be an all online Toastmasters club because that seems easier. And that was actually one of my questions. Is it easier or is it harder to run an effective online club? Now, we've been doing this since 2017. We started it just because I was interested in giving webinars, having opportunities to do webinars, and I wanted to be able to do them better. And I saw that that was going to be an important professional skill, probably for a lot of people, to be able to get out there and to be online presenting, not just up in front of a group of people. And then in 2020, I took a trip to Wuhan, China, and planted a virus that spread all across the world. And it was great for our club. It shut down the world. And a lot of people came to online presenters to figure out how to do online Toastmasters because all of a sudden they had to. My evil plot worked. Let me share with you, though, I actually did, in addition to starting a discussion thread on this topic on Facebook and trying to stir up discussion there and then inviting people to come here and talk about it in person, I did a little bit of research. So I'm going to share a few facts and figures with you, just a few slides. We'll try and keep that relatively painless, that part. But what makes for a healthy online club? Well, I set out trying to get a sense of how healthy the current batch of online clubs is. Now there is a page on the Toastmasters International website, and you're told if you want to find an online only club, click here, because they really haven't gotten around to integrating the search for an online experience with the find a club search function on the site. Otherwise, it would allow you to search, regardless of zip code, by schedule or the specialty of the club. Haven't gotten there yet. There are some problems with this list. I found out that it lists a bunch of dead clubs. So, for example, it lists Digital Communicators, which was a very strong club started by one of our past presidents, Nick Lahani. It was going along great for a couple of years, and then I guess they got to a point where Nick didn't want to be president for yet again another year and couldn't get people to step up. They couldn't get a new leadership team in place. And so that disbanded. And, other probably more forgettable online clubs have fallen by the wayside in the meantime, and they're still listed on this page. I think we're also missing a lot of what I call de facto online clubs. They didn't charter as online clubs. They may not have gotten around to telling Toastmasters online that they're meeting all online, and so they're actually not listed on this page. But a bunch of clubs are listed on this page, and I went through a process of any computer nerds online will know what screen scraping is. I basically pulled in the contents of this page, extracted some data. Really, I wanted to find the club numbers of the different clubs which were encoded in the web addresses, and then figured out a way of pulling in some data. And this is what some of that looks like. Now, this is sort of the top of the list, and we're kind of in the middle. We are down a few members. This is looking at what they show as your base number in the Toastmasters dashboard, the number of members you had at the start of the Toastmasters year, And where you are now, we're down a few, so you'll see a few in red there. One club is down like 10 members, but still at 24. That's pretty respectable. And the largest one that I see is at 36 members and has added 7 members recently. So congratulations, Schilling Speakers Toastmasters. I don't think they're here tonight. Buddies, which I know a little bit because they've participated in some of the past multi-club events we've been involved in organizing, and they also use the Toastmasters.org website platform that I've set up. They're doing quite well. 31 members, again, a growth of 7. And I was trying to get a sense of whether, on average, are most of these online clubs growing, shrinking? On average, a bunch of them are down a couple of members. And so that leads me to think that maybe it's not so easy to run a successful online club. Now, I still consider online presenters to be a successful online club. Don't get me wrong. If you've been around Toastmasters for a while, you know there can be a lot of reasons why people leave. They get a new job, they get a new schedule. It's no longer convenient for them, and hopefully they don't hate you. They just can't do it anymore. So, but there are also clubs that are growing, and about 29% of those active online clubs with 20 or more members, so kind of the section that I put us in, a little less than a third of them are growing, have added some members in recent months. This is a breakdown. This is the 132 total, 23 that are actually dead. So really 109. And then we've got this fraction that I consider healthy, 20 or more members. The others I put in the muddling through category, 10 to 19 members. Maybe those are 19 fantastic members, and they'll be at 20, 25, 30 pretty soon. And I classify under 10 as struggling, but maybe they're just getting going too. But it's a range, and not everybody is achieving fantastic success. And let's see, wait a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. Actually, this figure was the number, about 29% of the active online clubs have 20 or more members. Of those clubs, 12 out of 32 are actually adding to membership right now. And we need to make sure that we get online presenters into that club. So I'm going to go into open discussion in a few moments, and hopefully get through that before I start to see timer red signals. But just a few things that I've gotten as feedback online, or things that I've offered to other people. I say that hybrid can be the best of both worlds. It can also be the worst of both worlds. So I've been doing hybrid support for Club Awesome for a couple of years now. There have been more than a couple. There have been quite a few meetings where it's me and one other person in the room saying, we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off trying to set up all this technology, and it's just you and me, and everybody else is online. And it took us a while, but we got back to a better balance where we'll have half or sometimes more than half of the people actually in the room. And we've done things like we're a Friday morning club, so we'll have a breakfast on the last Friday of the month and often a special event to try and give people a reason to come in person. So think about that. You may have to give people an extra reason to come in person if you're trying to achieve that balance. I also think there's what I call the phenomenon of the accidental online club. They were meeting online, particularly the people who were forced online during COVID. They accepted a few members from outside the local area because why not? And then they got to the point where maybe they could have gone back in person, but they didn't want to lose those members that they'd attracted. Plus, there's a little bit of an etiquette issue. They paid their dues. you'd have to at least wait to the end of the dues period to say, I'm sorry, we're going back to fully online. Have a nice life. So that could be awkward. Now, Nick Smith is actually with us here tonight. The club that he and Jim Barber are in, Plantation Toastmasters. Nick was telling me that they made it very clear to people all along. Yeah, sure, you can visit us online while we're meeting online, but we're planning to go back to fully in person as soon as this nightmare is over. And Nick is somebody who has a lot of technical skills. He's capable of doing the hybrid thing. In fact, I think he's doing it for some district events. But he didn't want to have to do it every week or to have that be on him. And it's definitely a challenge to do it right. So don't be an accidental online club. Make a decision to go online if that's the course that you're going to take. And also think about the fact that you are going to have to brand yourself differently. Because I think the default brand of an individual Toastmasters club for many years was they meet just down the street at a convenient time for me. If that's not your identity, you actually risk losing the local identity if you don't do something to keep that up. And what is your identity? It has to be, you have to have some way of telling the world what it is that makes your club special. So that's something to think about. And of course, I can't get through this without saying that you should have a better website and you should sign up for toastmost.org to host your website based on WordPress, not that nasty free toast host thing. But anyway, that's another issue. That's a pet project of mine. I'd actually like to ask people, what is your district attitude towards online clubs? If you're online and you're affiliated with a district, are they pushing you back to in-person? Are they pushing you back to hybrid? Or have you not heard anything either way? Maybe Jim and Chris can tell me that. Have you gotten any kind of pressure?
My understanding is that there is no pressure one way or the other. We do not even have to declare that we are 100% online, which we are. We just made sure on the Toastmasters website that it does say online participation available.
Right.
And we're done.
Yeah. You might want to get on that list of online clubs just as a recruiting tool.
Good thought.
Let's see, anybody else here who's from an online only club? Any other online only club folks here? Really? Dr. Sunny.
Hello, I'm a member of District 43 Toastmasters, which represents Mississippi, Tennessee, and Arkansas. I am a member of an online club in Arkansas, an online club in Mississippi as well. And we have started doing meetings in person in terms of our conferences. We have a conference in April that will be in Arkansas. A few months ago, we had a meeting in Mississippi. So there are clubs that are going back, but what is a challenge is getting a location space for many of the clubs. So right now, the clubs that are mostly online, I think there are like 100 clubs in our district. Most of them are either online or hybrid, to my knowledge.
And actually, I've heard that that's a huge thing, that people lose their location. And again, sometimes it's not necessarily that they couldn't find another location, but it just seems easier to go online. Chris, you have your hand up? You want to ask something more?
Yes, just you've sparked thoughts when we talked earlier about, well, if you don't have the identity of you're down the street at a convenient time, what could there be? And we have talked in our club about maybe we should just admit we're old folks. So age defined by age, and we're not goal oriented for growing our leadership. We just want to stay sharp and have some camaraderie.
Okay. All right. We have to wrap up pretty soon, but Dr. Byrne.
Yes, for my situation, I started off with you at Club Awesome, and then with COVID, went online. And then when I moved from Coral Springs to Tampa, I've maintained relationships with my clubs in Broward County and here because they are hybrid and online capable. I know that in my own club, Club Voice, one of my clubs that I belong to, we went and signed up for hybrid as soon as it became possible on the Toastmasters website. And that was because at the time I had broken my leg and traveling back and forth to the club was very difficult. And we were in the Herbert's Civic Center, and they had Wi-Fi, and they had monitors available so I could get on and we can do our meetings. The club I'm in, one of the clubs I'm in now in District 48, Carrollwood, has a number of the older members that long for being together in person. And I won't say that they're technophobes, but they much prefer meeting than dealing with all the technology that we deal with in terms of setting up the meeting. So I'm seeing both of those things. They're not forcing you to do it that way, but certainly when they speak, you hear coming from their voices a strong preference for coming back to full meeting as opposed to online.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. So I've gone past my time. Maybe we'll have a chance either in the after meeting or at the end of the meeting to chat more about this if people want to, but I do want to allow other people to speak as well. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Dave, for leading this discussion, and we can continue after the meeting, as you said. The second speaker today is working in her icebreaker for dynamic leadership path. The title of her speech is 12 times the charm. Let's welcome Joni Laidlaw with a round of applause.
I remember the first day I sat in front of this prompt. I'm going to choose my path. I'm not generally the type of person who does not overthink everything. The Toastmasters website has changed quite a lot since 2019 when I joined, but I can tell you, though there wasn't a part that says educational program, there was a section on pathways, and I went on and I looked at every single path. See, when I came to Toastmasters, I was done with people. I was going to do my best Patrick Star impersonation. For those of you who don't know who Patrick Star is, he's the starfish. He lives under a rock. I decided that I was going to jettison myself from society and go and be a hermit. This was my last ditch effort at people. I darkened the doors of Toastmasters in 2018. I sat there, I looked over all these paths, and I went, I want to do this, I don't want to do this, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. And I could not decide because there were 11 paths. And of the 11, I knew for a fact there were 8 of them that I had to do. 4 were an immediate need, 4 I had to do. Now 1 I will never do as long as I live. I mean, after all, it was common. Everybody did it. Everybody wanted to do it. And I'm me. I'm Joni. I'm unusual. I'm special. I don't do what everybody does. I want the one that not everyone is doing. So I decided I can't decide in this selection. I'm going to take the test. Now, let me just say, I did the test for my first path because I could not choose. And on that first path, it said do team collaboration. That was so nice, right? A person who wants to be a hermit, how dare a computer pick team collaboration for a hermit? I think that would be rather counterproductive, don't you? Well, I did it. And in the space of trying to get through that path, I realized that maybe the reason I wanted to be a hermit was because I've never seen the box, yet alone understand how to think outside of it. Other people might know where the box is and they might have seen it, but I sure haven't. Which led me to the second one I chose, visionary communication. Because if I'm going to be in the stratosphere, you know what? Maybe if I could communicate what I could see, other persons would understand. And those were the two paths that I started along my journey. As I went on with those two paths and being a Toastmaster, you know, there is a reason why they say this is where leaders are made. I realized I don't write things down. I'm not going to. I hate it. Then came my 5-year path, innovative planning. Ironically enough, Toastmasters and online presenters turned my 5-year path into literally a 1-year, 2-month path. But that was just because David recruited me to do work and I had to write it down because if I didn't, it wouldn't have worked. Got all those paths down and I decided to be an area director. Note that if you're in multiple clubs, you are going to be required to do multiple paths. And I do not in any way, shape, or form believe in doing work and not getting credit for it. We work for pathways. Pathways does not work for us. And as such, I blazed through. Let's get this motivational strategy, strategic relationship. Let's just say I lost count. I ended up doing 12 icebreakers. This is my 12th icebreaker. No, Andy, I'm not starting another path. Because I was rushing, I did engaging humor twice. Fortunately for me, the Toastmasters experience just proved that it actually contains something for everything that pretty much I was lacking. And I always get the chance to say, you know what? There's a path for that. I have gone through all 8, or I'm supposed to be proficient in all 8. But I can tell you, presentation mastery and motivational strategies, I believe those are going to go over to the LMS. I'll definitely be revisiting, then that would be 13 times the charm and 14 times the charm. But for now, I've completed 8 and I'm working on these 3. I'm working on these 3 and I decided that while I really don't want to do dynamic leadership, there must be a reason why there's a hype, right? There has to be a reason why people and Toastmasters International has not jettisoned this path as it will with a few of the others that won't be passing on. So here's to it being popular. Here's to understanding what's the big deal with dynamic leadership. And here's to seeing where dynamic leadership is going to lead me. Because if I've already done the other 10, because, hey, I'm missing that. Hey, I'm missing that. Hey, I need that. I wonder where this one will take me. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Joni, for sharing your experience with us. And good luck with your new path. Miss Timer, how was the time for our speakers?
David's presentation was 13 minutes, 2 seconds, but when he added in the Q&A, that went 17 minutes, I think in 3 seconds. And Joni's presentation was 6 minutes. So Joni passes. I don't know how we want to count David's.
Yes, good on me. But do we have a third speaker too, don't we?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only Joni and you. And I'm not only the Toastmaster of the day, I'll be your vote counter as well. I will put a link in the chat and you will vote for your favorite in the next minutes. In the meantime, I want to present our next section, very entertaining section. The table topics section, it will be conducted for Mr. by Mr. Andriy Smolenko. Andriy, welcome.
Well, thank you, Karina. Thank you, fabulous Toastmaster of the day, Karina from Chile. I'm Andrei Smolenko, based in Manchester, UK, and I'm your table topics master. One of my favorite parts of the evening, when your task will be very, very simple. I can call any of you with a question or just one liner, and you would need to produce a speech, a very short speech off the cuff, desirably with opening, main part, and the ending, hopefully a powerful message. Considering today's meeting theme, new beginning, new opening, I would also encourage every one of you to try. No, I would insist you use the word of the day, which is, one sec, is it reticent? Sorry, I just need to find it.
Jettisoning.
Jettison, yes. Well, I already said it, and I said it probably twice, but please use it in table topics when you can. Madam Taima, would you be able to remind us about the times for the table topics, please?
For table topics are 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, we will see the green. At 1.5, we will see yellow, and at 2 minutes, we will see red.
Thank you. So now we know the rules. And of course, at the end of the session, we will vote on the best table topics speaker. So let's get ready. The first question I have is, if you had a chance to change one thing in your life, what would you change? I repeat the question. If you could change just one thing in your life, what would you change? And this question goes to Marianne Grady.
Well, thank you for that question, Mr. Table Topics Master. I've often thought of how much time I wasted fearing things. And I had heard about Toastmasters probably more than 10 years before I actually joined. And I had a very good friend. He was a member in New York City, and he kept on telling me, this will be great for you. But then he went on to tell me that there's somebody who's counting your ahs and your ums. And he went on to say all these things that made me extremely frightened. Well, I didn't join, and I didn't join, and I didn't join for many, many years. Then I finally did go to a meeting. I was just floored when I saw the person in front of the room, a young woman. She was a president of the club, polished, looking fabulous, and speaking like it was nothing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And when I did get up to say hi and greet everybody, everyone was so warm and welcoming. And then I watched them give feedback, and I just couldn't believe that all these people were in the room trying to make themselves better. And I knew it was something I had to join. So I did, and I've never looked back. But I wish I had done it about 10 years sooner. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Oh, thank you very much, Marianne. What an inspirational speech. You made me wanting to join even more online clubs. Yeah, thank you. And we go into the second question that I prepared. Well, if you could change the world, where would you start? If you could change the world, where would you start? And this question goes to Shrikant.
Well, hi, this is my first time here. If I would want to change something in this world, I would start with eliminating poverty. I think poverty is the biggest problem that is faced by different people in different sections of the world. And eliminating poverty, I think, would have a huge positive impact on the overall world, and would also ensure that resources are available and more easily available, and Yeah, so this is what I would change.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Rikansa, for your speech. Of course, the poverty, very, very important. Thank you very much for bringing that to us. And we continue with table topics. The third question I haven't decided yet who is going to take it, but I tell you that question. They say the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. Please explain why this saying is wrong. They say the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Please explain why this saying is wrong. And I would like to ask our chat monitor, Nicholas.
Well, thank you, Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Yeah, who's they? Who are they? You love sayings like this? I mean, there is a lot of truth to that in some ways, right? I think it's human nature that we tend to look at how circumstances could be different, and we tend to focus on the negatives of what's happening in our life. And oh, it'd be so much better if it was different. If I was over on that side of the fence, look how much greener the grass is over there, right? But I like how you're asking us to think about this more. And I think sometimes we focus on that if we could allow ourselves to see that there is a place, a better place for us to be, and focus on the positives of what we have, but how there could be more positives on the other side of the fence. I guess you could look at it from like a self-growth thing, right? Yeah, sure, this is great here, but if I was to learn a new language or learn a new business skill or to try something outside of my comfort zone, I could make it to some grass, and just like that light, it could be green. I jettison myself out of this situation and into a better situation. Just a thought. Mr. Topics Master.
Oh, thank you very much, Nicholas. I did not catch you off guard on that particular question. Shame. I'll do my best next time. And we move into the next question.
Muted yourself accidentally.
All right. Thank you. Madam Toastmaster of the day, can I confirm with you I have enough time for a few more table topics?
Yes, Andre, we have more time. 2 more, I would say.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Then, right. Let's change the direction. Please describe positives of the approach. Fake it until you make it. Describe positives of the approach. Fake it until you make it. And this question goes to Chris Gould. Please, Chris.
Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, fake it till you make it. I was actually a lawyer at one point in time. That was something that I did not believe was something that I could do, but I did. They call it practicing law. I think that's the epitome of fake it till you make it. You're always practicing. I don't know when you ever get to do it. That was a long time ago, and I have jettisoned all of whatever I knew about being a lawyer. And I do think on the New Year's about what are my new goals ahead? What do I want to do? And I don't have any more new beginnings. I've decided that, and this might be just the epitome of a new beginning, to just be happy with where I am. I don't need to start anything new. I have a wonderful life, a wonderful husband. We travel, we do our computer work from the comfort of our home. Life is good. Mr. Topic Master.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you for sharing that. You were a lawyer once. So now we know where to go for a bit of advice. Thanks. And the next question I have prepared sounds like, describe negatives of the approach, fake it until you make it. Please describe negatives of the approach, fake it until you make it. I wanted to ask Dave. Dave, would you be able to take this question on? If you with us? Well, if not very convenient for you, then perhaps you can do it some other time. Just let me know, and I'm sure we can squeeze you in. So then I'm going to ask Andrew Byrne. Please describe negatives of the approach, fake it until you make it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. The question of fake it until you make it is one way of saying, don't give up until you succeed. Fake it until you make it assumes the following. It assumes that you have a desire to reach an end goal, that even though you don't have the skills or the competency or the knowledge to do something, if you believe in yourself and you develop your competency, you can keep trying until you succeed. I believe that's where the expression try, try, try again comes from. And if I hit my 1 minute mark, can't see the timer. No. So those are expressions that are used in the community, and I have used it myself when I started Toastmasters. Believe it or not, when I started Toastmasters, I was so concerned about forgetting what I was going to say in my speeches that I actually had them worked out on my teleprompter on my computer so that I could look down and see the speech there. But I do see the green light, saved by the green light. Thank you very much, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Andrew, for sharing your experience about fake it until you make it. And I believe I think we're just about good on time. So I would like to ask our timer to give us a quick report on the table topics participants.
All table topics passed. They were within time. All speakers were within time.
Brilliant, brilliant, because timing is absolutely crucial in everything that we do at Online Presenters. I think it's one of our strong points. Keep fingers, I will not prove myself wrong, and we're going to run this meeting on time. And I'm going to pass all this virtual stage and presentation, I suppose, back to our Toastmaster of the day, Carolina. But before I do that, you're going to see a link in the chat with where you can vote for the best table topics. So please click on the link and cast your vote. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you very much, Andre, and let's give him a round of applause. Congratulations for your questions. The next section is for receiving feedback. And this section will be conducted by a very experienced evaluator. Let's welcome Jim with a round of applause. Jim Barber.
I'm glad you clarified that, Madam Toastmaster. Yes, I'm the other Jim. And this, as Carolina indicated, this is the evaluation portion of the meeting where we deliver feedback on the various portions of our meeting. I would remind our evaluators this evening that they are being timed. The evaluation time is 2 to 3 minutes. Our first presentation this evening was by President David Carr, and we are privileged to have evaluating David's presentation, the overachiever, Joni Laidlaw. So, Joni, how did David do?
Thank you, our general evaluator. David, I liked the topic. Actually, I loved the topic. For me, the online space is my third space. What's a third space? Everyone needs somewhere where they can just hang out, exist. Many different spaces have done that throughout time. And for my generation and younger, it's now become the online space. As such, we don't view online as online. We view it as another location. It's why I have always lobbied that the online space needs to be its own district so we can support each other with our own needs and our own wants that an in-person district would not think about. Case in point, you demonstrated so effectively with your slides the fact that Toastmasters has not incorporated online into even the Find a Club. Online is seen as the other place instead of its own existence. I loved online before COVID, and I like the fact that online presenters started without the need to go online, and as such, proves the point that there are persons who look at this location as a location that they would want. I like the fact that you brought facts and figures to back up your points. We spoke about it before. You were a little squidgy box. So I didn't spend as much time looking at you and adding Chris to the mix with her lights. I do believe I was laughing as you evaluated points that I should not because of the fact that I was looking and looking and looking. And that's how I can suggest that you make it greater, because you basically hit all the points. You had audience engagement where persons were able to include their opinion.
Measuring the risk of suicide for high school.
Thank you, Andy, for the interruption where you had the opportunity to include information on the situation, but also got us anecdotal evidence from persons who were involved to explain what was happening. Keep working on the online space. Thank you so much for going to China. I love COVID conditions. I miss them so much. Stay 6 feet away from me and do not touch me. We stated that already. But if we can't go back to COVID conditions, the convenience of online would mean that we have to, like you said in your discourse, look at the space in a different way. And I'm glad that unlike me, who goes off my feelings, I feel like and I think this, you have facts and figures to back up why my feelings are right. Back to you, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Joni Laidlaw. Before we continue, I neglected to say something very important earlier, and so I will do that now belatedly. Jettison. Now, continuing, our second speaker this evening was somebody you may have a feeling of deja vu here. Joni Laidlaw just cannot get enough of Toastmasters. She was our second speaker this evening. She is being evaluated. Oh, I'm so glad he's back. The other Jim Gould, is going to be evaluating Joni this evening. Jim, other Jim, how did Joni do?
That would be the Jim. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, fellow guests. Yeah, Joni Laidlaw, this is the first time I've heard you speak. And when I came on to the meeting earlier this morning, and it was just a few of us, and I noticed that your presence in the picture was just over, well, it was over the top a little bit, but not too much. Just you're out there, and it's good to see. It's the enthusiasm and things like that. You have good use of the virtual background. If you're using Zoom's virtual background, it tends to blur out and things happen, but that's just what happens out there. Your vocal variety was wonderful during the speech. Thinking outside the box and having that box is something handy to have wherever you go. This is your 12th icebreaker. Okay. an icebreaker is normally, where you introduce yourself and we hear about where you came from and where you're going. Well, you told us about where you're going with the pathways, and we work on pathways, but pathways does not always work. Is that what you said, or some words to that effect? I think it was good. Some of those slides that you had on the screen were kind of small and unreadable, so you might want to work on getting those things a little bit bigger. The content of the speech is not something that we really talk about that much, but it was very interesting. We talk about more of the things that you excelled at and things that you could work on and that. So I also took some notes. I'll run through it real quick because it is clarity 5, vocal variety 5, eye contact. You're very, very good at that. Gestures, you have your hands out in front so the camera can see it. Perfect. Audience awareness, I think it's obvious that it's there. Comfort level, we know. You can tell it's really good and interesting. It was an interesting subject. It was interesting to hear about where you're going and how you choose your path and how you kind of think out of the box. And good luck with that. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, the Jim. And now, let's see, Sarah, I believe both of our evaluators qualify for voting.
Both qualified.
Thank you, Sarah. And Carolina, will be posting the voting link in a few moments in the chat. When you have the opportunity, please cast your vote for the better evaluator, either the Jim or a Joni. And while you are doing that, we're going to move to the reports portion of the meeting. Although we're doing fine on time, I would remind everybody to please keep your reports to approximately 1 minute so that we can stay within time. And let's start with our watcher this evening, Andy Byrne. Andy, what did you see?
I saw a professional club where everybody stayed in the center of their box. I saw a couple of things that caught my eye. The first is Chris. Very often we have different kind of backgrounds that are lighter and using that to make sure that the lighting on our face is good. But Chris has wonderful lighting and has a black background, which has great contrast. Jim, on the other hand, has great visibility because he has lights showing on him and on the background, and he has a very pleasing, non-destructive background who's now falling off the edge. He's shrinking now. There he goes. But I think that those are two examples of individuals that are making the most of their box and highlighting themselves. Everybody's doing a great job in terms of that. And you can see the enjoyment that is seen by the members. Like Nick has a wonderful infectious smile, and he even has his puppet Kermit there with him. So I'd like to say that we all did a good job and getting better.
Thank you, Andy. The Wizard of Oz this evening was Chris Gould. Chris, good to see you back. How did we do Awe-wise?
Well, you guys are an advanced club, and you spoke appropriately to that level. In fact, I was afraid that I wasn't going to get to use my fancy little signs here. I really like this because that is one thing we are so missing in the online. You can tell that those of you who don't have many Us started with Toastmasters when we were live and we were digging a glass. That beat the Oz out of us. We don't get that in the online anymore. There are ways to make the sounds, but there's a lot of problems with it. So I've tried to come up with this visual way. And thank you, David, for giving me an opportunity to use it. Although you have improved a lot too since the last time I heard you a long time ago. I have David with 6 Oz, Andy Byrne with 2, Sunny with 1, and that's all I wrote down. Mr. General Evaluator.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Wizard Chris. Appreciate that. Our third report is our grammarian, Marianne Grady. Marianne, did we talk good?
We talked good. We actually didn't do really good, but I'll give you what I have. David used a word de facto Toastmaster clubs, and that's one I don't hear very often. Joni, I liked your expression relating to the box, seeing the box. Other people may have seen the box. It was very fun to listen to. Now, let's see. We work for Pathways. Pathways doesn't work for us. That was also a good one. And did you say squidgy box? I wasn't sure about that, but that's what it sounded like to me, which if you made it up, it's kind of funny. So thank you. And with the word jettison, it was well used tonight. Joni used it a couple times. Andrew used it a couple times. Andre used it, Nick, Chris, and Jim Barber, and myself. So back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate that. And now, finally, our first-time chat monitor, guest Nick Smith. Nick, what was going on in the chat?
Oh, it was a very useful thing for us. Visitors were invited to introduce themselves and report what brought them here. Toastmaster Andrei Smolenko invited members to join David's discussion on the problems and opportunities for online Toastmasters Club. Distinguished Toastmaster Laidlaw thought my OBS video effects were cool, so thanks for that. Appreciate that. Andre also shared the agenda and invited everyone to join the club's Facebook page. I highlighted during Distinguished Toastmaster Carr's speech that it's easier to run an effective online club than just to run an online club. I think it's important to have that distinction. It's easy to run an online club, but is it effective? Distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Byrne mentioned that Toastmasters item 8078 explains all the Pathways competencies, and I added the link to that. Toastmaster Sarah Iden provided the speaker timings, which is useful, and Distinguished Toastmaster David Carr provided a link to the Google Sheet containing the online club performance data he scraped to support his presentation. So a lot of useful stuff showed up in chat today, and I thank you all. Oh, David also mentioned a song from the 60s that I wasn't familiar with, Little Boxes. So good for you, because it's hard to stump me on songs from the 60s. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
And thank you, Mr. Chat Monitor Nick Smith. It is now my opportunity to evaluate the meeting as a whole. This part is easy. As has been indicated several times throughout the meeting, we are a professional club. We are an advanced club, and it shows. I belong to online presenters because I believe that they are among the best, if not the single best online club in the world. And consequently, that's why I'm here, and we demonstrated that this evening. That said, however, I want to review one thing. It's not anything that we did wrong, but it's something that we occasionally can lapse into. And I want to, this was already mentioned earlier by Andre, the importance of timing. Not just timing speeches, evaluations, and table topics, not just following the agenda, because that is important and we're doing very well tonight, but also of pacing of the different things. When you go through something and then you have to rush at the end in order to fit it in. Granted, you're meeting the timing, but it looked kind of amateurish. So try to pace it out. And I'm not picking on anybody because I think everybody did great this evening, but kind of look in advance to see what's coming out so that you can end gracefully and make it end without having to rush. But everybody did a great job this evening, and it was a very professional meeting. And frankly, I was very pleased with everything. Before I give it back to our Toastmaster, though, I want to call on Carolina as vote counter. How did the winners do, Carolina?
Jim, the winners are, drums please. The best evaluator is, thank you, Jim Good. Best table topics speaker, Marianne Grady. Best prepared speaker, David Carr. Back to you, Jim.
And thank you, Madam Timer, and I'm going to return it right back to you as Toastmaster of the day. Thank you, everybody. It was my privilege to be your general evaluator this evening. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jim, for your very well conducted section of evaluations. And it was my privilege as well to be your Toastmaster of the day. Always happy to serve my club. Saying this, I'll pass the meeting to our president and winner, David.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Carolina. I don't want to spend a lot of time while we have all these wonderful guests here talking about next meeting, but can I ask somebody to step up to be Toastmaster of the day next week, who does not yet have a role? Let's see.
Marianne Grady has her hand up.
Marianne, you can do it? All right, so I'll ask you for some help trying to line up the rest of the roles on the list. And those of you who are visiting, yes, we have all the same problems as a lot of other clubs with trying to get enough people to our meetings and trying to get all the roles filled. Maybe some of you do a better job of that than we do, and we should learn from you. But let us get some feedback though from our guests. And if you had anything that you wanted to say about some of the topics from earlier, didn't get a chance, please work them in. But let's ask Shirkat. I'm also sorry if I'm butchering it.
No, it's perfect. So yeah, so I haven't been to a Toastmasters in almost 10 years. So it was, and I couldn't do it earlier because we had an in-person one at my work, but I had a conflicting meeting. So it's been such a long time. So very refreshing, and I really enjoyed the energy here. And it was really a pleasure to listen to all of you speak, and also the way that the technology has been incorporated in different ways by different people. So I'm glad to be here, and looking forward to more events.
Oh, wonderful. So you missed all the drama about going online and going back and going hybrid and
I did.
going every which way, but we're happy to have you here with us here tonight. Kanisha, are you able to unmute and say anything to us? I know she was tied up with some other things going on. So.
Hi.
Oh, there she is. Hey, Kanisha. What did you think of this meeting, and give us any feedback?
Okay. I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying it. I'm pleased to be here tonight. And as I'm listening, I'm a little nervous, of course, because I know becoming a member of the club, I'm going to have to speak, give speeches, and be caught off guard too in doing it. So well, I hope to, all being well, I become a member of this club. I hope to do well at the table topic. That's right, yes.
Okay.
When I'm caught off guard to say something, I do well at that too. So,
Well, we'd love to have you. Have you been in Toastmasters previously? I wasn't clear on that.
Okay, I've not been a member of any club before, but I have visited a few clubs here in Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
This is my first time doing an online Toastmaster, being a part of an online Toastmaster club.
Okay. All right. Well, we can give you some more information about the setup of this particular club and what it takes to get in here. So
Okay.
that's
Okay, should I be worried?
no, not too much, not too worried. If you don't have a certain amount of Toastmasters experience before, you have to make kind of a pitch to us. Here's why I would be a good addition to the club. So that will be a speech you'd have to give along the way. But and I'm sorry, I'm giving Chris Gold more target practice, but she's turned her background off for the moment. Right.
Already gave the report, so.
That's right. Yeah, I'm safe for the moment. Let's see, and I'm seeing Thim, who has the Star Trek background from Kuala Lumpur. Would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hello, David, and hello to the rest of the advanced Toastmasters in here. Greetings from Kuala Lumpur. I'm here because of curiosity, really, and I'm struggling with my video because I somehow got it upside down. I mean, I'm not hanging zero gravity, but it's giving me some problems. So I'm trying to figure out what is the real problem. Well, I'll be back the next meeting because I also got my time zones mixed up. So I just came at the best part of all meetings, I suppose. So hope to
Okay.
see you next meeting.
Oh, wonderful. There is a little link on our site for converting time zones, or unless that malfunctioned, it might have.
Yeah, it might have.
Nick Smith, I guess you said you had been here before at some point. Probably dragged you in here for something or other, but
I've dropped into 3 or 4 of these meetings over the span of the past 5-6 years. I think I visited once before COVID was a thing, and this was new to me. And then I think I dropped in a couple times during the times we do not mention. And I always have a good time. I'm not a big fan of doing this, sitting at my computer for these meetings, but it's fun to stop in here and play with the technology and push the buttons and make everybody laugh and make a fool of myself. I like doing that once in a while. That's a part that makes this fun for me is incorporating OBS and my sound effects and everything else like that.
Okay.
Right. And I also enjoy helping the district. Like I was the technical coordinator for the TLI we had last weekend, and I enjoy that kind of stuff like that. So, but I wanted to stop in. I wanted to see this conversation you had about online clubs. I'm a big proponent of well specialized, well branded online clubs, and a big critic of the neighborhood clubs that just happen to be online because it's easier. And your talk kind of supports that position, I think.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, I don't think it necessarily is easier.
No, it's harder. I think it's harder to have this online really and make it effective in a lot of ways. So
they may be fooling themselves. Absolutely.
But I appreciate the warm welcome. Good to see you all, and I had a good time.
All right.
Thanks,
Hey, you
David.
did a great job this week on the TLI, man. It really worked well.
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun. I'm glad it went. It was managed hurting cats, but it went well. Went okay.
All right. And we've asked Dave a couple of times if he's able to speak up. Dave, you want to say words?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, great. Let me turn the video. Yeah, I had some technical difficulties. I apologize for that. When Andre called on me, I was trying to click to unmute, even though I'm not that good. That's one of my worst parts of Toastmasters is the table topics. But I was coming up with some type of response. And I'm trying to click mute and nothing's happening. I click it. And what I realized was at the top of the bar, it was showing meeting recording, so I was inhibited because I didn't say, okay, meeting, I had to accept meeting recording. So it didn't come right out in front of my face like I think it did in the past. It was just up there. And after a while, I just, it was totally oblivious to it.
We're very familiar with technology working and not working the way we expect it to.
Yeah,
It's one of our specialties. Yep.
A lot of people are having that exact problem in several Zoom meetings I've been in. In fact,
Yeah.
I just did.
And then you have three things popping up saying, will you also enable the AI to transcribe the meeting? It does get a little distracting. But anyways, Dave, what did you think of what you saw here today? Or
Oh, I think it was a really good meeting. Kind of takes me back to when I was participating in Toastmasters. This was 20 years ago. It was 2003. Yeah, it was 2003 actually when I was very active with a local club. We met on Saturdays, and it was convenient for me. I worked third shift. I got off work, went to Toastmasters Club, and finished out my day or my morning, and got through a lot of the speeches there, and earned that CTM, which does not exist anymore. But I'm still, I've regressed since then. I'm not as good a speaker as I were at that point, but I never was when I went in. I went in to get the confidence, which I'd probably talk about that in the future. I mean, it's a longer topic, but it's done me a lot of good, a lot of pluses. But now I'm coming back because I'm in a different place where I need to go further now. So
do you have a professional need for speaking?
yeah, I have more professional needs at work, at both my jobs. I work part-time as an instructor for manufacturing technology, and I'm thinking I want to do some online content for my people at work. So that I want to be able to do some technical type of presentations and things like that. I need to put something together that's pretty professional, and then they can utilize that for training, even though they want to go off site to do training. Of course, they don't want to do e-learning, but we're going to at least propose that to them because it's so expensive to send people to training courses and things. So if I could put some things together, that would be great. And this seems like a perfect place for that. Unfortunately, Mondays, I'm kind of wrapped up on Mondays, so I got to break this Monday. So I figured I'll come visit, and then in I'd say a couple of months, I'm taking another class that happens to occur on Mondays. And it didn't, he didn't have it tonight for whatever reason, but it's normally every Monday, unfortunately. But when I saw this on the Toastmasters international site, I thought, I got to check this out. This looks exactly, up my alley. So, or right in line with what I'm looking for, So.
Well, we'd love to have you back whenever you're able to make it.
But I think it was a great meeting. I
We'll be
really
here.
enjoyed watching it. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't participate because of the, and I shouldn't have those technical difficulties. So, but thanks for inviting me. And,
Okay.
appreciate it. Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure whether, other than Jim and Chris, who I invited personally, I don't know if I heard anybody say that they came here specifically because of the conversation. Oh, Nick also, but he's another person that I sort of picked on directly in the Facebook chat. But well, I was nice about it, wasn't I? More or less.
No, it was a nice question. It was a nice discussion.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's a good point, is that the Plantation Club had a very definite intention about what it wanted to do, and they articulated that, and they had a strategy. And I'm concerned that, some other clubs are just kind of drifting along and doing whatever's convenient at the moment. But so everybody's turning into artificial people on my screen here. You've all been filled up with ticky-tacky, and you're going to come out just the same. So watch out. All right. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Unless anybody else has something they want to bring up. Andy?
Actually, I'm very impressed with your research, and I have two questions. One, how has if you look at the data and statistics tab on Toastmasters, you see that retention is 53%. What is it amongst online clubs? Do they have a higher retention, a lower retention, a higher churn rate?
I don't know whether I absolutely. I tried to figure that out. I tried to figure out some comparisons. Some of you know George Marshall, who was one of the charter members of this club, and he has a Toastmasters tool website where he did sort of what I did for this project, where he basically scrapes all the official sources that aren't particularly well organized, and he organizes it into more useful formats. And I tried downloading some of his data, and it looked to me like Toastmasters membership was still shrinking pretty badly. And then George came back to me and said, no, actually it was starting, it's not back where it was in pre-COVID, but it's starting to tick up again. But as I say, I think on average, online clubs do seem to have lost a couple of members. But that's looking at, the whole long list. Of the ones that are sort of in our neighborhood, 20 plus members and doing fairly well. I think they were definitely holding their own. Based on the few statistics I could say.
The second question I have for you is the online clubs have the ability to link up with a district. How many of the 120 something online clubs that you looked at made the decision to link up with districts?
I actually could find that out, but I didn't research it for this project, because again, the information's not necessarily conveniently organized. So I have to try and make it, I have to do my nerdy stuff to try and make it organized.
If you don't
better.
mind, can I add this part to it, why I don't think that is a good solution for Toastmasters International? I noticed a lot of head nodding yes when I said the online space needs to be its own district because it needs its own things. For example, if they're going to have a hybrid experience for everything, hybrid is difficult and online is seen as just an add-on. So the convention center will be absolutely lovely. It will be decorated so well. There will be prizes, all of that, and everything is set up. And basically, we're glorified voyeurs. While whenever it's focused on online, things are done to entertain the online space. So it's seen as an afterthought. And the same thing occurs whenever we're doing things for training, etc. It's why I've been lobbying that we need a logistics manager. Logistics manager is there, but it's not one of the things that goes towards your credit for DTM. I love being a logistics manager. I absolutely adored it, but there is no respect, and it's a lot of fighting to get any respect to do that job. And then there isn't even put up with the foolishness, the Jamaican, put up with that discourse just for the sake of at least it can go towards my DTM in the same way you would the area director or PR, etc. It gets no credit. And I think in an organization that is one, online focus, because everything for Toastmasters is online, to not have something that represents the IT department, because logistics is only seen as logistics by me because I'm in the online space and know that's what you call the person who deals with that space. But most people see the logistics manager as a person who calls the hotel to book it. They don't see you as an important job, while in
Right.
the online space,
The person who
you
keeps
need
track of
that.
the audiovisual equipment.
Exactly.
But
Well, Joni, here's a specific example. The Triple Crown pin, which is a very nice pin, someone that has completed 3 paths or 3 levels in a course of 1 year gets a Triple Crown. Only districts can hand out Triple Crowns. By not being a district, we do not participate in that. I suppose you can go and order it from the online store and get Triple Crowns and then hand it out as a club activity. But officially, Triple Crowns are conferred on individuals by the district.
For the benefit of a bunch of visitors who don't necessarily know what we're talking about, when we started this club, all online clubs were undistricted. So we're sort of lumped in with clubs that are in remote parts of the world, who don't have enough of a critical mass of clubs to form a district. So online clubs were sort of lumped off there. More recently, it's become possible for clubs to be formed within a district or affiliated with a district. But by this point, we've had so much history that it was like, which district would we join? And I also think there is a mismatch that Toastmasters International hasn't faced up to between having people all over the world. I'm my South Florida district includes the VP of Education is from Idaho, and started attending very, very early in the morning. And another member is in Italy part of the year. So, and once you're taking their money, you kind of owe it to them to have the same courtesy as anybody else of being able to participate in district contests. And so that sort of forces things to be online. And I actually do think there's a real issue of, has Toastmasters lost something by not being able to have all in-person events too, particularly for contests where the International Speech Contest was designed to be like a mini keynote speech. It's not designed to be a mini webinar. But anyways, I'm pontificating.
Yeah.
I'll slow down and stop now.
But I get what you're saying, and it's why I'm thinking that it needs to be its own district, because
But-
then you would
well-
have somebody to lobby for your needs. Because let's speak like as it relates to a
Well, we
territory. That's
have,
what they're
we're
gonna
talking about
focus
like
on.
100 something clubs in total, although I don't think that's the real total. I think that's so it's probably at least several times larger than that, of all the de facto online clubs. But most of those are affiliated with a district right now. So you're talking about tearing them away from a district. As politics, it is a complete mess.
They don't want them though. I'm gonna be honest. They don't want them. They have them for numbers, but not for support though, because most people
Yeah.
want to be back in person, like you keep saying. They want to do it in person. They want to have the in-person experience. They're all for it. So it's just seemed as something to make
Well,
up
people
numbers.
want all sorts of different things, actually. There's, like I said, these people, well, we don't want change. We want to stay all online. So that's not necessarily the argument that we were hearing a few years ago. But anyways, I do have to say goodnight to everybody, and thanks so much for tuning in.